Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I am your host, Kelly Tolliday of the Transform with Travel podcast. Welcome, my friend. Today is an extra special day because we are celebrating 50 episodes of the podcast. I can't even believe it that we've made it to 50 episodes and that it's just been such a journey and so much fun learning from experts around the world, reconnecting with friends from around the world, sharing amazing stories, and really just being able to be a resource of inspiration, of a life of adventure, of curiosity, of compassion, of connecting and connection. It's been so much fun. So thank you for joining along for the ride for the last 50 episodes. And to celebrate 50 episodes, I wanted to share a solo episode of a topic that I've been talking a lot about lately. And it's really been about a year in the works, this project that I've been working on. I remember last year on our way to our Costa Rica retreat in September 2023. And in order to get to our location, we had to take a very small 8-seater plane from San Jose, Costa Rica to Limon, Costa Rica. And for me personally, I am a nervous flyer. I've flown all around the world, back and forth from Australia, one of the longest flights in the world. And I am still a nervous flyer. And so to get on a small propeller plane was nerve-wracking. And I was side by side with my retreat guests. Some were nervous, some were not. And it hit me. Wow, we're all kind of going through a similar journey when we hit turbulence, when a little anxiety, when we step into a small plane, whatever it may be. And I thought, you know what? I really should utilize my experience over the last 17 years of practicing yoga, 7 years of teaching yoga, over 600 plus hours of training in a wide variety of modalities, somatic healing, yoga, trauma-informed yoga, mindfulness, meditation. I was like, I really should take the practices, the philosophy, the strategy that I've been taught and that I've been practicing for almost 2 decades and apply it to the stress that we feel while we travel, and not just anxiety while we fly. There's nerve-wracking experiences when we're in the airport, when a flight gets delayed, when we lose our luggage, when a tour gets canceled. Like there's lots of things that happen when we're traveling that stress can really start to build up within us, and it can actually really ruin or create a negative experience of that trip itself, instead of allowing it to be one small part of the trip and really taking a step back and applying the principles of mindfulness so that we can still view this experience that we had either in a different country or a different location with a positive light, and really being able to take those lessons that we learned while we're traveling, whether they're perceived as negative or positive. So that retreat to Costa Rica really instilled in me that this is a really important project, because there's so many people who have one negative experience while they're traveling, like their flight gets delayed, or the hotel is booked up and they don't know where to go, or perhaps they get scammed by a local operator or something. And it's like, done. This whole trip was ruined. This is terrible. All of the things. And then they don't want to travel again, or they let the stress spill over into their relationship with the person that they're with on that trip, or whatever it is. So I created a resource for all of us, whether you're the most seasoned traveler in the world or whether you're just beginning, a resource for all of us to be able to navigate this travel stress that we all feel, because stepping out of our comfort zone is inherently stressful, and how to navigate this with a more easeful disposition, a wider, broader 360 view, and be able to walk away from whatever happens while we're on the road, being able to find some sort of lesson or silver lining, or not to like toxic positivity, like vomit all over it, but really taking the principles of mindfulness, being present with what's happening instead of getting too far into the what ifs or spiraling into constantly revisiting that experience over and over again, so much to the point that you can't even enjoy where you're at now. Like how many times has, let's say, you felt like you were wronged by the hotel that you're staying at, and they find a solution and you're not 100% happy about it, but whatever, like move on to the next thing. But then you're sitting at breakfast the next morning at the hotel and it's a beautiful day and you're about to go surfing or scuba diving or walk on the beach and you're still stewing on what happened or still talking about it with your partner. That's how these principles, these strategies, these techniques that I'm going to share with you, that's how it can help you turn this around. Like, let's turn this stress into something that we can just acknowledge it, move on, and then create more memories that are going to trump that other experience that you've already had. So I created the ebook, The Mindful Traveler, How to Navigate Travel Stress with a Smile. It's an amazing resource filled with education, why we feel stressful, like why do we feel stressed while we're traveling, like the actual science, like it's okay. We're acknowledging like there are stressful things that can happen. The reason why we want to travel in the first place, so the benefits of traveling, it's so important to remember why we are traveling or getting these life experiences, because then when something stressful or unexpected does pop up, then we're able to remember our why. Why did we go on this trip in the first place? Followed by 3 distinct phases of traveling that can cause a little unease or a little anxiety. So I call these the pre-travel jitters. So, the packing and making sure you have everything and worried about how am I going to get from point A to point B and all of that. The travel day anxiety. So sitting on that airplane, feeling the turbulence, being surrounded by hundreds of people at the airport. And then the destination overwhelm. You get there and then all of a sudden you realize, holy crap, how I want to see everything. I want to make sure I do this destination right. I want to make sure that I, get all of the experiences, or I'm overwhelmed, and how do I be present and enjoy where I am? All of that. I go through all of those 3 stages of traveling. We talk about different techniques. We talk about different meditation strategies and practices. There's journal prompts to help you overcome challenges and also lean into the joys, and helpful tips on how to integrate back home. I also give excerpts from podcast episodes from industry experts from this podcast, the Transformative Travel Podcast. So honestly, it's jam-packed with really useful and helpful and quick techniques and strategies that are free to use once you get the ebook. And I really hope it helps you. I really hope it helps you guide you through the total emotional landscape that travel can be, especially in today's modern world. And so to get that ebook, you can find it at www.transformwithtravel.co, and you can actually get 10% off your order if you use the code LAUNCH10. So be sure to go check it out. But for today's episode, we are going to be talking about a few of these techniques that are in the ebook, as well as a couple more that are added in just as an added bonus for listening to the podcast today. And I mean, we oftentimes over romanticize our trips, or we place really high expectations on our vacations, and we don't often let ourselves kind of lean into all of the possible scenarios that could happen so that we're prepared. So we think, travel, right? It's an adventure. It's going to be a self-discovery time. I'm going to relax. I'm going to reconnect with my partner. But we don't really think about the realities of travel as well, getting from point A to point B, dealing with the people at the airport, or dealing with border control or whatever, right? Sometimes it can be chaotic. And let's be honest, while travel is often depicted as this glamorous escape to these exotic locations, it can also feel like a stressful experience. And it can leave you wondering sometimes, I've definitely been here, wondering like, should I have even done this trip? Especially when I'm traveling with my kids. Sometimes I look to my husband and I'm like, what did we do? Like, why are we here? These kids are losing it. And so after traveling to over 45 countries, I've lived across 4 different continents. I've hosted group travel and retreats in 7 different countries. I have literally experienced all of the highs and lows of travel. And I've learned how to apply my 17 years of experience of practicing and teaching yoga, mindfulness, meditation to navigate this travel stress with more presence and joy. It's a lifelong lesson for me, but I'm light years away from where I was at when I was backpacking in 2015. Like who I am now and who I was then, I have learned so much. And I'm here to help you not take a decade of learning so you can just get there as fast as possible. And because of my unique experience of blending travel and wellness, I'm here today in this episode as your trusted co-pilot to help you experience the vacation of your dreams by applying these principles. All right. So I am going to talk about my 7 top tips today. It'll be short and sharp. We're going to get through them, but we're going to start all the way from packing all the way through coming home. So these are my 7 top tips to bring about more presence, more joy, more ease while you're traveling. And there's a lot more information in the ebook. These are just little snippets for you to take with you and apply right now, and then run to my website and go grab the ebook, The Mindful Traveler, so that you can get all the information. So number 1, the packing predicament. First things first, before we get from point A to point B, we got to pack. We got to know where we're going. So this seemingly simple task can morph into a spiral of mind games and uncertainty. Packing can send anyone into a tailspin. What to bring, what to leave behind, how many pairs of socks are too many? Do I need this gorgeous ball gown that I've literally never worn, but somehow I'm in Paris and I'm going to finally wear it? Spoiler alert, you're not going to wear it. Instead of frantically throwing items into your suitcase last minute, just take a deep breath and approach packing as if it's a meditation, right? So my mindful travelers tip number 1 is turn packing into a moving meditation. Focus on each item as you place it into your suitcase, right? Feel the fabric, appreciate its purpose, visualize how it's going to serve you on the journey. And can you pack with more efficiency and combine each item with others to create more outfits with less clothing? This is going to help you pack lighter, pack less. It's not only better for the environment, but also it creates this mental space in your mind. The less stuff you bring, the more mental space you have. You're not rummaging through your suitcase trying to find that one specific shirt or trying to carry a 50-pound suitcase on and off the train in Europe. It's a nightmare. Trust me, I have been there. Also worrying about, am I going to go on overweight in my baggage fees? When we minimize our physical luggage, we also clear space in our mind. And so you can use this time as packing to get really clear. What am I actually going to wear? How can I mix and match these items together? And also, most likely you're going to have laundry services near you. Just accept that you're going to do laundry at some stage and bring less. All right, number 2, airport anxiety. Let me just go and relax at the airport. I don't think anyone's ever said that before. I'm pretty sure no one has ever said that before. So the airport seems to have become this lawless land where stress levels soar higher than the planes themselves. Like, I've 100% been there. Between security lines, flight delays, the ever-looming fear of missing your flight, it can turn even the most seasoned traveler into a nervous wreck. But what if you could glide through the airport with the calm of a seasoned yogi? So my mindful tip number 2 is, if you're anxious about missing a flight, this is my husband's biggest fear, literally, when traveling, is missing a flight or being late or having to run through the airport. We've done it more times than we can count. So now this is his number 1 rule. Give yourself plenty of time to arrive at the airport. Nothing is more stressful than sprinting through the airport with luggage, with your backpacks. If you have kids literally hanging off of you, give yourself the time to arrive so you can walk slowly through the airport, take deep breaths while you're in long lines. Sometimes I just close my eyes and I just take some deep breaths, and maybe even enjoy a cup of coffee and a chat with a new friend at your gate. Something that I love about Americans is that we love to chat to each other when we're waiting in lines. Sometimes it can be a little annoying when you're really tired, but other times it's a really cool quality as an American, I think, that we talk to each other even when we're sitting at the gate, when we're waiting in lines. I've talked to some really amazing people. So give this your chance to kind of get into your vacation mode and be open to talking to new people if you have more time than you plan to have. Arriving to the airport in peace lets you take off in peace. And remember, it's recommended to arrive at least 2 hours before domestic flights in the US and at least 3 hours before international flights. So just really keep that in mind. Give yourself that space and allow yourself to arrive and take off in peace. So number 3, the flight fiasco. For many of us, flying can feel like an anxious experience between the turbulence, being cramped in your seats, the inevitable noisy neighbor. If you have kids with you, that adds to the stress. Are they going to sit in their seats? Are they going to scream? It's no wonder flying can feel dysregulating. In fact, I just launched an episode with Simon Brackett, who's a commercial airline pilot, and he talks about the reasons why planes make certain noises and have certain procedures and how to calm that anxiety while we're flying. So be sure to check that episode out. Instead of succumbing to this spiral, use this opportunity to practice presence and mindfulness. Mindful Travelers tip number 3, engage in a body scan. Once you're seated, close your eyes and mentally scan your body from head to toe. Notice any areas of tension and consciously relax them, right? So you start from the head, work your way all the way down. Usually I am like majorly stuck in my jaw and my neck. So I go through every single point all the way down. With each exhale, I soften that area. I release that area of the body. I widen into that part in the body until I feel it relax, release, and then I move down to the next stage of the body. This not only helps you settle in, getting away from, when I say settle in, I mean more like you're in your anxious mind, you're taking up space in your mind, and you're dropping yourself into the presence of your body. So it not only helps you settle in, like I said, but it also makes the flight more comfortable. And who knows, you might even find yourself drifting off into a peaceful sleep. So in the Mindful Travelers ebook, I have a recorded body scan. I have a recorded meditation specifically for turbulence and anxious flyers. And I also have recorded meditation for getting grounded into your body and feeling as if you've landed in your body rather than being in the what ifs in the future of your mind, along with other recorded meditations too. So the next one is itinerary overload. Okay, so we've gotten through the anxiety of getting to the airport and packing and flying. Because you've used my tips, you feel a lot better. Now you've arrived, right? And you've arrived at your destination. This is itinerary overload. You've reviewed all the reviews, you've planned all the plans, and you're determined to do and see everything. But you quickly realize while on your trip, you're exhausted and frazzled, and you're wondering why you ever thought cramming so much into one trip was a good idea. It's time to dial it back and bring mindfulness into play. So the Mindful Travelers tip number 4 is to prioritize and simplify. Focus on the experiences that truly matter to you and let go of the rest. Right? So you might have seen something on TripAdvisor is the number one thing to do, or some influencer in so-and-so social platform says that you have to see these 3 things or you didn't do Florence right. They might not even be that important to you. You might not even be interested in XYZ museum. It's time to prioritize exactly what is going to make your heart sing, what's going to feel really good for you, and simplify it down. You don't want to feel like you need a vacation from your vacation. So give yourself the permission to take breaks and actually schedule in downtime. Schedule into your itinerary, if you can, a whole afternoon of total free time, or a massage, or a yoga class, or walk on the beach. If you're like me, you need to be very clear with yourself. This is your time to relax. Perhaps it's sitting in a cafe and people watching, or just taking a leisurely stroll. When you leave room in your schedule for spontaneity and for rest, that's when the true magic of travel starts to unfold. So moving on to the social media spiral. In a world where pics or it didn't happen is the prevailing ideology, there's a huge amount of pressure to document every moment of your trip for social media. And trust me, I am probably the biggest culprit of this. This is I think the next thing I'm going to focus on trying to remove. I've gone a whole year without alcohol, and now I think I'm really needing to dial it back on my social media, especially when I'm traveling. So I am working with this side by side with you. But when we're constantly curating and sharing our experiences, it can detract from actually experiencing them, like in the moment. If we have our camera out, taking a video of our kid interacting with an elephant in Thailand, we're watching that through the lens of our camera and through the lens of how this will look on social media, rather than through the lens of our own experience and anchoring that experience into our bodies and into our memories. When we're constantly posting for the online world, it takes away from the in real life world, right? So Mindful Travelers tip number 5, before you leave for your trip, set boundaries for social media use. Designate specific times to check your phone and post updates. If you want, you might decide you're going completely social media free or phone free, even better, and spend the rest of your time fully engaged in your surroundings. Without the distraction of likes and comments and messages, notice how this changes your perception of what's important in each moment. It's also fun to maybe bring like a point and shoot camera, either like a digital point and shoot camera or even just like an old fashioned Kodak camera, which can be reserved for all your picture taking. And keep your phone solely for communication or researching tours or taxis or whatever. So we got it. Boundaries on social media. I'm going to work on this with you. I'll give you an update. Got it? Good. Okay. So we talked about at the beginning of the episode, these unexpected hiccups, these mistakes, these plot twists, these mishaps, the cancellations, the delays. That's a huge part of travel. It just is. And so no matter how meticulously you plan, trust me, I've tried, travel is unpredictable. Flights get canceled, sicknesses happen, weather can ruin your plans. But instead of letting these setbacks ruin your trip, use mindfulness to stay resilient and adaptable. So my mindful travelers tip number 6, practice acceptance, acknowledge the situation without judgment, and focus on what you can control. Use these setbacks, perhaps weather cancels a tour or a flight gets delayed. Use these setbacks as opportunities to explore new paths, new routes to take, or take unexpected adventures. Okay, this tour is canceled, but boom, we just found this amazing new art gallery by all indigenous artists that we'd had no idea was happening before. Amazing. Remember, some of the best travel stories come from unplanned detours. And I've actually have an episode in the podcast, I believe it's episode 4, where I talk about how I had to rearrange almost a year's worth of travel plans after we had to get evacuated from an earthquake in Indonesia. That's episode 4. So the journey home, right? We've packed, we've got to the airport, we went on the plane, we landed, we did all the tours, we set boundaries on social media, we handled our unexpected hiccups with grace, and now we're on our way home. As your trip comes to an end, the thought of going back to reality can be bittersweet. We can start to feel sad before our trip is even complete. Sometimes we're literally sitting on the world's most beautiful beach already talking about how we don't want to go home. But hello, we're still on the beach. We're still getting to have our vacation time. So why are we already leaping to 3 days from now and the stress of our inbox that's not going away, whether we talk about it now or whether we just deal with it as it comes? As we're starting to feel sad before our trip's even complete, it takes us away from the trip itself. But with mindfulness, you can carry the serenity, joy, and insights of your trips and of your travels as you go back home. So my very last tip, my Mindful Travelers tip number 7 of this episode, at least, if you get the ebook, you're going to get a ton more, but reflect on your experiences. Take time to journal or meditate on the highlights of your trip. What did you learn? How did you grow? Bringing these insights into your everyday life can help you maintain a sense of mindfulness and gratitude. That's the biggie there, gratitude, long after the trip is over. And in the ebook, I have a ton of journal prompts to use before, during, and after your travel so that you can integrate this amazing, present, joyful trip that you've had, no matter the circumstances. That's the biggie, no matter the circumstances. So you can integrate that back into your day-to-day life. And ultimately, mindfulness is about embracing the journey as it comes, not as we think it should be, letting life unfold as it is rather than the expectations that we're placing on it, responding to life rather than unconsciously reacting to it. So the next time you find yourself stressing over your travel plans, remember that you have the power to turn chaos into calm with just a few mindful breaths, with a few mindful self-introspection journal prompts, with a simple switch of your perspective. Stay curious and playful. Approach travel with a sense of wonder and a willingness to embrace the unexpected, which is essentially a willingness to sit in discomfort. Mindfulness is not about being perfect, it's about being present. So pack your bags, take a deep breath, and embark on your next adventure with a heart full of curiosity and a mind full of peace. Thank you so much for going on this journey with me for the last 50 episodes. And if this is your first one, what an amazing one to start with and work your way backwards all the way to episode 1. I really hope that you take the time to go to my website and check out the ebook, The Mindful Traveler. Again, you're going to get 10% off if you use the code LAUNCH10, and the website is www.transformwithtravel.co. And if you think this episode was helpful, send it to a friend. If you have a family member who spirals at the airport every single time, just lovingly send a quick message to them with a link to this episode. And I just am so grateful that you've made it all the way to the end. I am here to help you embark on a journey of tranquil travels. And this is going to be the start of an amazing next 50 episodes ahead. So enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your next trip. I know that this episode is coming as we head into the holiday season. I hope this helps you, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Transform with Travel podcast. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode of inspiration, adventure, and exploration. If you felt inspired by this episode, please rate and review in whatever streaming app you're listening from. This allows us to spread the word even more and continue to serve up weekly doses of adventure. As always, we'd love if you could share the episode with someone in your life who you think will benefit from this conversation. Thanks so much for listening. This is your reminder to get out there and keep on exploring.